New York Giants fans, another day. You gotta love it. Football is back, but there's a lot of panic going on, and I've noticed this a lot. And it's almost as if I have to remind people of certain things, and one of them is, hey, this is only my opinion, right? Based off of my experiences, based off of what I do as a coach, based off what I've seen as a fan and what I've seen as an analyst. The other thing is, this is still football. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons. New York Giants on SI. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information from. Make sure you're going over there, catch everything we're doing. You don't want to miss any of it. Lots and lots of content as we count down. Remember, this Thursday, we're going to get real football. I know some people are going to say it's not real football. It's just a Hall of Fame game. It's real football, ladies and gentlemen. And it's an opportunity for us to start seeing what teams and players and all that stuff is going to look like, right? And so from that perspective, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting. But I just have to remind people that this is football. And the one thing that I have to remind you of when I say this is football is that people get injured. This isn't like some thing where you can get through a season without some type of boo-boo, without some type of injury, without some type of thing hurting on you over time. We can't lose our minds every single time a player gets injured. Well, let's go back, right? Because it's almost as if we equate injury with not being good, or we don't use injury as a reason, right? Because there are excuses, and then there's reasons. So I'm gonna piggyback and go back a little bit, and I hope you guys stay with me, right? There was a couple people who commented on my last pod and said, hey, that Jameis stuff, we know he's not good, blah 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 blah. Stop with the whatevers. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take you back to Jameis Winston with the New Orleans Saints, right? After Jameis Winston had spent his first 5 seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? The Bucs had decided they weren't going to re-sign him. Why? Because they knew they had Tom Brady on the hook. Who's not giving up their quarterback for Tom Brady at that time? Everyone. In hindsight, it was a great decision. They were able to win a championship, and then they were able to get another quarterback who was the number 1 overall pick on the cheap, get him in there and allow him to see what was going on. But I digress. Jameis Winston with the New Orleans Saints, right? When Jameis Winston was with the New Orleans Saints, he went to the Saints when he was 26 years old, right? So not even in the prime of a NFL quarterback's career. But he had spent 5 seasons with Tampa Bay, and we all remember the last season was the season that he threw for 5,100 yards and 30 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he had 30 interceptions as well. 33 touchdowns, excuse me. By the way, he had 30 interceptions as well. I digress from that. That year that he threw for 5,100 yards, you have to remember that in his rookie season and in his second season, he threw for 4,000 yards, right? 16 games. The next 2 seasons, he didn't throw for 4,000 yards, but he didn't play a full season. He threw for 3,500 yards in 13 games. Then he threw for almost 3,000 yards in 9 starts, 11 games played. When he played a full season, this man was a 4,000 to 5,000 yard thrower. Then he went to New Orleans. And in his first year, he was the backup. He sat there and he chilled, right? That second year, He was the starter for the first 7 games. His record was 5-2. His record was 5-2. He had 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Then he got injured. And that injury kept him out for the rest of the season. He came back the next year, played 3 games, got injured, and in 3 games had 858 yards. In 3 games, one of the games he got injured in. That was the end of his opportunity to start in New Orleans. Then he went to Cleveland for that year, where he was the backup because they had Deshaun Watson, and now he's with the Giants. That is not a journeyman career. So everybody that's over here in the comments saying, oh, he's a journeyman, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know football. And I'm comfortable with saying that. Jameis Winston was and still is a talent. Now, should he be the starter here in New York? I can't say that. Should he have gotten the opportunity to compete for the starting job? I'm 1,000% comfortable in saying that. You guys should know me well enough that I would say it to Brian Dable's face. It's not beef with Brian Dable. He made a decision that he thought was best for the team. I think he missed the opportunity to pull the best from all of those quarterbacks by opening up the competition to everybody, including the rookie. But that's what it is. So there's no narratives being made about anyone. Injuries matter. And had he not been injured that year when he took over as the starter in New Orleans, had he not been injured, what type of season was he going to put up? 14-3, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. If you extrapolate those numbers out, that's over 30 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. Probably, I want to say 7.5 if I'm thinking correctly. If that happens, what's the contract extension that looks like for Jameis Winston? These things change everything about how somebody is perceived. He didn't lose a competition in Cleveland. He went there to back up Deshaun Watson. He didn't lose the competition in New York. He went there as a backup, apparently. We can't throw the journeyman on him as if he was given opportunities and failed at those opportunities. He did not fail at his opportunity in New Orleans. He got injured and then was never given the opportunity again. That's completely different than what happened to Baker Mayfield, who continually failed until he didn't. That's different than Sam Darnold. We can go down the list of people who have failed in a place and then been gifted a starting spot in another place without having to earn it. That's narrative. We should be happy that we have a Jameis Winston as a backup. Because if something does happen to Russell Wilson, you have a guy who's capable of that. He's also capable of trying to do too much, right? No one ever excused his turnovers. He's done too much at times. But he's done too much at times on bad teams. Not on teams where things were good, where everything was in place. He's done it on bad teams with bad offensive lines and limited weapons, or maybe just one weapon. He's not selfish. Every interception he's thrown has been an interception he's thrown because he was trying to get the game. He was trying to win the game. When in reality, he probably should not have tried to win the game. He should have just tried to manage the game. But you take the good with the bad with these dudes, right? You're going to figure out really quick that there's going to be times where Russell Wilson manages a game where you want him to go out there and win it. And at that time, you can't turn your back on Russell Wilson because that is who he is. At the heart of him, that's who he is. He's risk averse. So he's going to manage the situation where winning is actually needed. And we're going to have to live with it because we're rocking with the guy that the head coach said is his guy. But these narratives that you think I'm putting out there, they're not me saying Jameis Winston should be the starter. I never said that. When I thought he was signed to be the starter, I said, wow, buckle up. You got one. You wanted a playmaker? You got one. When it was decided that he would not be the starter, I said I didn't understand. But I don't make these decisions, right? If it wasn't for injuries, Jameis Winston is not with the New York Giants. So I can understand why there are people out there, so many of them, that go straight to the doom and gloom the moment you hear injury, right? Evan Neal is considered to be a bust, not because he failed, but because he was injured so much that people pointed to the times where he wasn't good instead of pointing out all of the times that he was good. But now at guard, when he's fully healthy, right? And he's no longer a rookie. He's had some years in the league, so he knows how to deal with the press better. He knows how to deal with fans who might be less than kind. Now that he understands how to navigate that world a little bit better, lo and behold, he's having success. Maybe if he was drafted to be a guard and not drafted to be a tackle, he never has the downs that people use to make it seem like he's not good. The same people that says he's a bust if he doesn't play tackle, if he becomes a successful guard, are the same people that said take Quentin Nelson with a top 10 pick. Quentin Nelson, the guard for the Indianapolis Colts, was taken with a high first-round pick. He's a guard. He's been fantastic. Nobody blinked an eye at it. So you're telling me that if Evan Neal has a successful transition to guard and now spends the next 10 years as your starting guard here in New York, which, by the way, he probably won't because they didn't pick up his option, which means they're going to have to pay him money. They're not going to want to pay him money. Some other team is going to pay him more money, and he's going to be gone. And then the Giants are going to be left with whomever they think can be a replacement for him, and you're going to have to watch Evan Neal go and be a starting guard or tackle for some other team for the next 10 years. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. But you're telling me that if Evan Neal ends up being a starting guard for 10 years in this league, that his draft was a bust? You're bugging. That is the height of stupidity. And yes, we're using the word stupidity because sometimes when people do things that are just utterly stupid, we should be able to call it out. And calling someone who starts for 10 years in the league a bust is crazy. You could say he didn't live up to the expectations of the Giants, but then you could also say that the Giants never gave him the opportunity to live up to the expectations because they gave a quarterback 6 years. They gave the quarterback 6 years at a much, much higher clip of pay than what you're going to pay for this tackle / guard if he's in free agency. But injuries happen. And when those injuries happened to Neal, people went, oh my God, I can't believe, he's always injured. Right? And then the Andrew Thomas injuries. It comes out Andrew Thomas might be ready for week 1, might not. Oh my God, we're going to be terrible. It's the worst thing I can have. I get it. It's frustrating. But that's football. And in football, people get injured. And when big guys injure their lower halves, the opportunities for re-injury becomes exponential. The more that a big dude is injured in the lower half, the more lower half injuries you're going to see. Because that's a lot of weight and gravity and age on those limbs. The latest is Malik Neighbors. Every single time Malik Neighbors gets nicked up, it is front page news. It is the head of everybody's talking point. It is what everyone is speaking about, what everybody wants to say. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody gets injured. Malik Neighbors is a sports car. You know what they do to sports cars after every race? Formula One cars after every race? They break it all apart, right? And then they reassemble it and put new stuff on it every single week for a race. Why? Because that is how much strain, stress, wear is put on the car in one race that you have to go back and start it all over again every single week. Malik Neighbors is an F1 car. There are going to be times where it doesn't seem like it should be a lot, but it's enough to throw him off because he's that delicate. And I don't mean that he's soft. Not at all. I mean that guys who are that fast, guys who are that explosive, guys who are that agile, quick, when something gets injured on them, it lowers the levels of everything. And it doesn't take much. The same way that it doesn't take an Olympic level sprinter much to go from what their personal best might be to not even being a finalist. We're talking hundredth of a second. Hey, if you run a 10 or a 9.9, and then you run a 9.7, if you run a 9.85, you feel like you didn't accomplish anything that day. Right? That's how it goes. It could be something that a person ate that took them from a 9.9 to a 10.05. The same thing applies in football, ladies and gentlemen. Injuries happen. So every time we get an injury update, unless they say this person is supposed to miss significant time, right? Like over in Baltimore, we just found out Isaiah Likely probably going to miss a few weeks with an injury. That's significant. Kenny Pickett over with the Browns going to miss significant time, right? That's big. Various injuries are going to make you ring the bell a little bit louder. But if they just say, hey, such and such got nicked up, they're day to day, or they just went off, we're going to play it by ear, that's not a reason for a think piece. Should the Giants play Malik Neighbors in the preseason? Well, when are they going to play him? Well, you wait till the regular season. Okay, cool. You wait till the regular season, and then he gets hurt in the first game. What's the difference? Well, at least he got hurt in a meaningful game. Really? I don't care if he got hurt in a meaningful game or if he got hurt in a preseason game. I care that he got hurt. And I care that he's going to miss more time. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. Right? Like if that's the strain or the pressure or the torque that you've put onto your body, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. There's nothing that you can really do about it. Like you shouldn't even be trying to do anything about it. That's how it goes. That's the game. Injuries happen. We don't have to lose our minds. The entire point of building a the entire point of building a team with more depth. Excuse me, my brain had just turned off for a second. The reason that you want to build a team with more depth is so that when your starters get hurt, you don't feel as if you have to rush them back. Why are we not as concerned with Andrew Thomas being out? Because James Hudson has played well in his stead. Is he Andrew Thomas? No. No. Is he Andrew Thomas? Absolutely not. Is he better than Azudu? Absolutely. Is he Justin Pugh? Absolutely, he's better than Justin Pugh. Is he better than that dude they brought off the street to go over there? Yes. Right? That's the point. So that allows for the coaching staff and the front office to be more cautious with Andrew Thomas. Hey, Andrew, take an extra week. Because we know that when you're 100%, you're one of the best in the business. You're not just a tackle, you're one of the tackles. Makes sense to me, right? Makes sense to me. Why doesn't it make sense to you? Makes sense to me. When we look at how things are done and what injuries take you down, if Malik Neighbors goes down, shouldn't we feel good about the fact that Darius Slayton at one point in time was the de facto wide receiver #1 on this team? And when he's targeted half as much as Malik Neighbors, he's put up good numbers. Juxtapose that, or not juxtapose it, but add that to Wan'Dale Robinson and his maturation. Add that to Jalen Hyatt coming into another year where he should be a factor. If they got to survive without Malik Neighbors, shouldn't we be excited about their ability to do so? They've got a starting running back. They've got another running back who has been a starter in this league. They've got a rookie running back that a lot of people think has an opportunity to be a starter. They've got a tight end who started. They got a tight end who used to be a starter here. They've got a tight end who was a starter somewhere else. They've got a tight end who's a starter and a potential blocker. They've got a rookie that they brought in. All of this talent should be able to weave something together that allows you to avoid feeling bad about losing a Malik Neighbors for a short amount of time. But we can't like lose our minds over these things. And it gets so frustrating sometimes to watch. Every single time someone gets injured, it's the doom and gloom, woe is me, as if football is going to stop because somebody got injured. That's the part of football that's the most fascinating. Sometimes it's not even who's the best team. It's whose team can get the furthest through the season with the least amount of injuries to be able to compete when it matters. I remember when the Bucs won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. They won the Super Bowl for one reason and one reason only. Kansas City had both of their tackles get injured and they couldn't play. They were down both starting tackles. I want to say they might have had a starting guard out too. But they were down to backup tackles in the Super Bowl against one of the better pass rushes in the league. That's all. That was period in, game over. I put all my money on Tampa Bay. People were like, "Oh, I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes." You're not betting against Patrick Mahomes. You're betting against his offensive line. And lo and behold, it played out. Those are the type of things that should get you up in arms. If they came out tomorrow and said, hey, Andrew Thomas had a setback, he's going to be out for the first 6 weeks of practice, of games. Now you should feel a little bit alarmed. Now you should be like, oh my goodness. Now you should be worried. Now you should be on the defensive. But outside of stuff like that, outside of major injury announcements, what are we worried for? Why not turn the attention to the people who could have an opportunity to show that they can excel in his absence? Like, I want to know about these undrafted free agents that are all out there looking good. Some of these guys never looked that good in college. Jordan Bly never looked this good in college. Jordan Bly was a journeyman in college. He never looked this good. He looks like a capable dude. He's not going to make this team. There's not enough slots for him. He's not going to make the team. But he looks like he belongs. Right? He looks like he belongs. Juice Wells looks like he belongs. These undrafted free agent wide receivers, if Malik Neighbors are out, and Brian Dable said it today, it's interesting to watch them go through and how it's different when they're with the third team or the fourth team as opposed to when you throw them in there to get a first team rep. You see how they react, how their anxiety level goes up. Right? He does it because he wants them to know, hey, if you're put into this position, this is how you should respond. I think that's fly. Right? That's why it's important to give Jackson Dart first team reps. Not a lot. Not a lot where you feel like you're not getting enough reps for the other guys. The guys that you expect to play, but enough that he knows that the level of expectation rises. So if he has to be thrown in, that's not the first time he walks into that huddle and sees all those first team faces. Right? That's what it's for. That's how it's there. So yeah, we care about injuries, but we care about the injuries that are significant. If the injury is not significant, then let's not dwell on it. Let's turn our attention to the other things, because there's more stuff to talk about with this team than just like somebody getting injured. And finally, really quickly, the offense is going to beat the defense. The defense is going to beat the offense. Ladies and gentlemen, it's football. Everybody's going to get a win eventually. We don't need to act like there's something wrong with the other side because this side won. Sometimes they're just better. That's it. They're just better. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're going on the New York Giants SI, checking out everything they're doing here. But I need you guys. Hit that subscribe button. I don't like it. We got to get these numbers pumping up. We haven't even hit 3,000 yet. I want to hit 3,000. Let's lower the expectations right now. Let's just get back focused. 3,000. That's what we're trying to get to. 3,000 subs. Help your boy out. We're going to keep on building this thing. It's a new season, and I am looking forward to it. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I've got a giant issue.